What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be talking about the Idaho Student Murders. Almost everyone's heard about them. Happened like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. A trial date was recently set. I don't know for when. But yeah, 4 students who lived together. Were murdered. 3 of them were females. Really attractive females, and one guy who was a boyfriend of one of the girls, who I don't think lived there. He was just staying the night. I'm not positive. Anyways, in this video we're going to check out, I seen this and I wanted to check it out, thought I would share it, record it. Idaho Student Murders. Author claims Bryan Kohberger targeted 1 victim. That's what I thought. That was my opinion. Just personally, that was my opinion. One of the girls. Because prior to this, Bryan Kohberger, who didn't go to Idaho, he went to Washington, but he was seen at a party. I don't know if it was a party at Idaho, like in the gym or whatever, or if it was an off-campus party. But some people say they seen this Bryan Kohberger, who definitely did it. I mean, he's guilty. Give him the death penalty. I always thought that like one of these girls just probably brushed him off or whatever. There's so much evidence against him. But anyways, let's check this out. Author claims Bryan Kohberger targeted 1 victim.
Several theories as to what exactly happened the night 4 University of Idaho students were massacred, while journalist Howard Blum has a new book about the killings and accused murderer Bryan Kohberger that he believes can provide some answers as to why and how this all happened. And he joins us to discuss. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. One of the most mysterious elements to the Idaho 4 killings is the why, right? Why would Bryan Kohberger, the former Washington State University grad student, who was arrested 6 weeks after the brutal stabbing of University of Idaho students Madison Logan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Granado, Ethan Chapin, why would he do this, as prosecutors allege? Why would a complete stranger murder 4 people in cold blood back in November of 2022? We don't have a trial date set. We don't know exactly how prosecutors are going to lay out the story. We do know there's quite a bit of evidence that prosecutors plan to use to prove that Bryan Kohberger is the killer. DNA, surveillance footage, cell phone data, potential eyewitness. But again, why? Well, there is a new book that has come out, and it is by best-selling author Howard Blum, that explores some of these questions.
I mean, one of them, the evidence is like neighbors, like prior to the murders for like, I don't know, like 2-3 weeks, seen a car that was exactly like the car that Bryan Kohberger drive. You know, driving past the house or past basically we now know is to check out the house. Neighbors remember saying that they seen that car a bunch of times over the weeks prior to the murders, driving up and down past the house, or just at the time they didn't know why this vehicle kept just driving in the neighborhood. And like afterwards, that's just one piece of evidence. You got DNA, and he was so brazen. He just had a knife. He didn't have a gun on him. That's just, what if someone in there had a gun? I never heard this thing. Just because he went in, what time was it around? It's like 4 a.m. the murders happened. Doesn't mean that someone's can't wake up and be like, oh, there's an intruder. One of the girls, and they still don't know, was like in the hallway, and she stood still because she was so scared, seeing someone walking down the hallway to leave. So she couldn't describe what he looked like, or describe very well. But yeah, all it took was just one girl having a gun being awoken. Never bring a knife to a gunfight. He did, and was like, there's no way they have a gun. So cross that out. Anyways, back to
questions, and it offers a potential explanation for what happened. It's called When the Night Comes Falling, a Requiem for the Idaho Student Murders. And Howard Blum joins me right now. Good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for coming on. So here's the book. It just came out, what, today? Today, okay. Yesterday. So here's the question I have for you. Everybody's been fascinated about this case. I'm not surprised you wrote a book about it, because people are fascinated about it, but how did you get involved in studying what happened here?
It happened really by accident. 2 years ago, we were sitting around the Thanksgiving table. We had finished discussing politics, family matters.
That's dangerous, but yeah.
And the talk turned to this perplexing murder that just occurred in Idaho about a week earlier. So I hadn't been following the case then, but all weekend it sort of stayed in my mind. And I texted Graydon Carter, who ran Airmail magazine, and Graydon said, sure, go on out for us. We'll pay your bills. I went out there, not really just to report on it, but I thought, I'd been a former Times reporter, put on my trench coat, I go out there and I'll try to solve the case.
Yeah.
Because no one had gotten to the bottom of things. So I get there, I'm there for a couple of days, and I think, well, I've got this figured out, because the house is sort of in a gully, there's houses around it. I would figure someone from one of those houses, one of the areas, would see these kids, they're full of ebullience, exuberance, beauty, and he'd feel on the outside of things, and that would have sent him sort of rageful.
So before we even get into the theories that you lay out in the book, which I find are fascinating, I think a big question is, and I was surprised by it too, why publish a book about this before the trial?
It's a very good question, something I gave a lot of thought to. What I've done, and this is my 16th book, I was a reporter at the New York Times, I wrote for Vanity Fair as a contributing editor for a lot of years, and what I do is I tell true stories but I tell stories. And I think this is an important story with a beginning, a middle, and an end right now. The subtitle of the book is The Requiem for the Idaho Student Murders, and it's a story that's supposed to be a loving remembrance of these children who've lost their lives. It's also a police thriller in many ways, a procedural of how the police caught this man, and it's really an answer to a puzzle of what happened. And I'm able to tell it really as a cross-country journey that the father and son take. And in this journey where I was able to get some new information, I lay out a story that aspires to be a narrative that people can enjoy. So I thought now's the time to write.
Tuition-free online learning from Michigan Virtual Charter Academy lets you take this
To write about.
Let's talk about that puzzle. So one of the big pieces of this book is you have a theory as to why, if Brian Kohberger really did do this, who he was targeting. What can you tell us about that?
Well, first, emphasize what you said. It's my theory, my suspicion.
Right.
The prosecution and defense, one of the few things they agree on, is that there is never any interaction between Kohberger, either in person or on social media, with any of the victims. I say that's perhaps not so true. If one looks at the course of what happened that night, Kohberger enters the house on the second floor through the kitchen sliding door. There are 2 bedrooms right adjacent to the kitchen. He could have gone into either of those bedrooms. Instead, he pursues, as if a man on a mission, up a narrow staircase and goes into Maddie Mogen's bedroom. He finds inside that bedroom not just Maddie, but Kaylee. He had really no idea that Kaylee was there. She's not really living in the house anymore. She's up in North in Coeur d'Alene. She's getting ready to graduate, and she's doing an internship there. So I believe that he had, at one point, in the Mad Greek restaurant where he would go for, which is in downtown Moscow, he goes there for vegan food. He met Maddie. Didn't even have to talk with her. He was a man who was prone to obsessions. His heroin addiction, his decision to lose 125 pounds, his decision to go from a low-ranking community college to a top-ranking graduate school in criminology. He threw himself into things. And for some reason, her beauty, her exuberance, her vitality, her blondness even, that attracted Brian Kohberger, I believe. A killer needs 2 things, someone to love and someone to hate. And either he loved the image that she projected so much and hated himself for being on the outside of it, or he hated her and felt she was a constant rebuke to everything that he was trying to become.
Wait. If he was attracted to her and seen her at this, what was it, vegan restaurant, he killed her because he thought she was beautiful? Because when you plan something like this was huge. I mean, forget just the fact about killing 4 people, but to kill one person. He killed her because she was so beautiful and he was attracted to her. If you're attracted to someone, you approach them. You maybe ask them out, ask for their phone number. They had to have had some interaction. Maybe she reminded him of an ex-girlfriend or a girl that he used to really like. She turned him down. There's always a motive. There's a motive for every murder.
Why do you say that? Because first of all, and to back up and to be clear, you're not suggesting that anybody who has some sort of drug addiction will have an obsession with a person, right? They might have an addiction to a drug. Doesn't mean they're obsessed with. There's something specific about something about Koberger.
An obsessive personality.
Okay.
I think you can see a pattern of a personality that falls into obsessive beliefs, obsessive behavior, and that's been the story of his life. And for whatever reason, and you know, I wish I could speak with him. I'd like.
Have you tried?
I've tried everything. It's pretty hard to get to Brian Koberger
Don't
right
say
now.
anything while this is legal case is going on.
And I don't think he's allowed to by the gag order.
Right.
That's another problem with this case. To digress for a second, this gag order is so restrictive that it's allowed anyone with any knowledge to speak on the record. Anyone I spoke to, I had to speak to off the record. And in this vacuum of authoritative comments on the case, the vacuum is filled with half-truths, lies, innuendos, and outright vicious accusations that fill the internet.
There's a part of your book where you talk about the idea of that night in question. And a lot of piece of the evidence is that he had been allegedly circling that area multiple times. Now, some would say he was stalking it, trying to scope it out. You have a different explanation for what might have been happening there.
I believe that he was not stalking the area. If he was stalking the area, he would have seen all the cars in the driveway. He would have seen the DoorDash delivery at 4 a.m., and that would have deterred him. That if he was out to make the perfect crime, he would have thought twice about it. What was going on?
What do you mean, make him think twice? I mean, like I said before, I mean, all the neighbors for like weeks prior, 2 or 3 weeks prior, said that they kept seeing his car, which they didn't know at the time, because there was no murders, kept seeing Brian Kohlberger's car. What's the hell's his name again? I don't care. Kohlberger. Kept seeing his car driving down the road, driving down the street. And this guy saying, oh, he never would have done this if... Well, first of all, he did do it. And he said if he was stalking the place, he would have seen the DoorDash. Yeah, because one of the girls ordered DoorDash. It's not like they stay. They drop off the food or whatever and they leave. And the driveway, I think there's like 2 vehicles or something. What? So far, I don't agree with. And this is the first time I'm hearing Kohlberger used heroin.
On in the person driving the white car's mind, I believe, and again, this is my supposition, he was trying to find the will, trying to cross over from the world he was living in into this manic state where he could have the power to kill, to take someone's life. And he was trying to escape from it. He was trying to, every time he drove away, he was hoping, I can get away from this. But like a magnet, these demons pulled him back. And he ultimately could not escape. And when the car stops at the top of the hill and he turns off the ignition, the killer, I think it took the strength of Hercules for the killer to do that. And then,
so for those weeks when he was driving by, he was like trying to will himself not to kill the one girl who this author thinks he was targeting. It was him just, don't do it. No, it was him staking out the place. Go stake out the place. What was that? Let's go stake out the place. Let's go. Trying to act like a detective or I don't know. He was staking out the place. He was stalking the place. He was looking.
And make up his mind. Then he was committed to these murders.
So just to
Your child needs these 3 key factors to get into
I don't have
an
any
Ivy League
kids.
or top 25 university.
They don't need
And
to. Go to college.
clarify that point, you don't think he set out that night,
Be successful.
left his campus, left where he was living to go murder somebody? Would that be fair to say?
No, I think
Or was
he was, his mindset was he was ready to murder, but as soon as he got there, he tried to pull back. And he tried to pull back not once, not twice, but 3 times. For all we know, there might have been another night when he tried to commit this crime too. And
So he drove from Washington to Idaho not to commit these murders. Is that what this guy's saying? Did he just say that?
Hercules for the killer to do that and then make up his mind. Then he was committed to these murders.
So just to clarify that point, you don't think he set out that night, left his campus, left where he was living to go murder somebody? Would that be fair to say?
No, I think
Or was
he was, his mindset was he was ready to murder, but as soon as he got there, he tried to pull back.
Are you like in his mind? What do you mean? As soon as he got there, he tried to pull back. He didn't want to commit these brutal murders where there was like each person was stabbed like 8 to 14 times. Is this author for real? I wasn't expecting this. He drove from Washington to Idaho to commit those murders, but he was trying to pull back. He was trying to pull back. He wasn't trying to. He was telling himself, don't do it, don't do it. You know how much gas money that is? Washington to Idaho. How do you... Is this author for real? He knew exactly what he planned this out for a long time, just like all those weeks where he drove his vehicle up and down that street. He was staking out the place, checking out the windows, the doors, everything around. That's what this psychopath was doing.
And he tried to pull back not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Are you inside his head? What are you? Once, twice, 3 times I tried to stop. This author, so far, I'm not...
For all we know, there might have been another night when he tried to commit this crime too, and was successfully able to pull back.
In other words, and by the way, this is we're speculating here. We have to be clear.
Yeah.
But the evidence that he had been in that area multiple times before, you suggest that could have been opportunities that he was looking to strike earlier.
Yes, or trying to come to terms with this, or what I think part of it was
He was staking
on the
out the
periphery of
place.
these events, and he was looking into everything that was happening at that party house. I think that
And you believe that based on his background? He was on the outside looking in.
Yes, and also, in Pennsylvania, where he grew up, he was always on the periphery events with women and events there. I talk about...
The thing is, the first room that Kohlberger went to, if this guy thinks it was, I forget the target he said it was, Kohlberger went to that room first. He must have been like staking out the place at night when the lights were on, and no shades were open, and he could see who was in the room. Oh, okay, that's not her room.
In the book about a pool party he goes to when he first gets to Washington State University in Moscow. And he's sitting there and he's looking good on the steps of the pool. He's now worked out, he's made his body a fortress, and he's talking up to people. And he suddenly breaks away and goes to two women in black two-piece bathing suits. And he gets their numbers. He gets one, and then he gets the other. And then immediately after that, he makes this connection. He disappears. He leaves the party. I spoke with the women, and he never called them. He never called them. However, in the aftermath of events, they've now come to believe that perhaps the hang-up calls they started getting in the aftermath of the party were from Kohlberger. And again, he just could not make the next step to become the man or the person that...
See, I heard he went to a party. This must be the party that I heard. And I heard, like, there was girls there that said he was like a weirdo, just acting weird, and was like quiet and shy. I never heard anything about him getting two girls' phone numbers. And then this author says that those girls think now that it was Kohlberger calling them and then hanging up. So he gets two girls' phone numbers and then starts calling them both and then hanging up. So this guy didn't want to try and get laid, have a girlfriend. This is the first time I heard about him getting two girls' phone numbers, walking up to two girls.
he wanted to be.
My voice is cracking. Let me just grab some water real quick.
The videos are still like 15 minutes left in the video, but I don't want to make my video, my YouTube video that long. It's already almost 30 minutes. But yeah, I might finish it later. But this author has said like enough for me. I disagree with like the majority of what he said. And coming out with a book before the trial even starts. Usually, people write books after the trial and stuff. I wonder if he's like trying to get like, you know, when stuff comes out in court, he wants, you know, people to be like, wow, that author, he was right. Because everything he's saying, I totally disagree with. I would say like 90% of it. Anyways, yeah, barring some miraculous, crazy, whatever, I don't know, Kohlberger, everything points to him doing it. It's just a matter if he gets 4 life sentences or gets sentenced to death row, the death penalty. Anyways, yeah, I'm someone who's for the death penalty. Our prisons are overcrowded. If there's enough DNA evidence, like 100% positive of someone committing the murder, you know, not just like loosely based like they did back in before the, I don't know, just like in the 30s, 40s. There's like one eyewitness would be like, yeah, that's the black man, he did it, death penalty. Or yeah, I'm sure of it, he did it. Can't go based. Eyewitness testimony means nothing. DNA, that's putting people away from years ago. People who commit a murder like in their early 20s, they're like in their 70s or 80s now. If you committed a murder and it was a long time ago before DNA, I guarantee you there's people out there who did hit and runs, hit someone and drove off, never found them, or just people who murdered. It was a long time ago before DNA and no one knew what DNA was, and now they do because they watch these shows. NCIS. What's DNA? They're thinking to themselves. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. While their wife is sitting next to him on the couch. They have 4 kids, 12 grandkids, everything's good. Can't run from DNA. It's gonna catch up to you. Anyways, I'm gonna end the video. I love y'all. And if you're new to the channel, or if you're not subscribed, you're someone who's just scrolling down and happened to click on this video, please subscribe. It would mean so much to me, you have no idea. And like always and forever, take care, be safe, peace everyone.